Welcome back, everybody. So a few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a young woman who is ranked at the top of the world in her sport. And she was talking to me about how she really wants to start enjoying her competitions because right now, they are just not fun for her. They are just bringing a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety and pressure into her life. And she admitted that she's kind of dreading competitions now. Now, if you saw my video from last week, I talk a bit about panic and how it is fear that leads us into dreading our competitions. Now, as we talked it out, as she got honest with me, we created a plan that we both feel can be really helpful for her. Well, since that conversation, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with other people where this same stuff was being brought up. So today, I thought I would go ahead and share the important parts of that conversation because I think it can be really helpful for us all. Because again, this isn't just an athlete thing. So those of you out there that aren't athletes, when I talk about competition, I want you to think about your pressure moments. Now, before I get into the conversation, you know I work with very successful women, and there are two things that almost always ring true with these women. And let me say, these aren't just my clients. These are women that don't do mediocre, right? These are women that want nothing to do with ordinary. These are women that want to be extraordinary. They want to do extraordinary things, and they want to live an extraordinary life, possibly like you. I know I do, right? But there are two things that almost always ring true. Number one, there's always a bit of a perfectionist in us, and we'll talk about that at a later date. But the second thing, almost always, there seems to be a bit of a control freak in us. Now, I am not a big fan of that term, but you know what I mean, right? We want control. And what we can't control, we're going to try to figure out how to control that too, right? So, as I got into the conversation with this young woman, there were two things, that I realized pretty much immediately. She was walking into these competitions, number one, wanting to control everything and everybody, including her competitors. And she wanted to know what was going to happen before it happened. She was going in trying to predict what was going to happen before it happened, right? And the problem with that is when we try to predict, it always starts with a what if, and we know what we do with what ifs, right? When there is a what if, we almost always attach a worst case scenario. And a what if with a worst case scenario attached brings fear, which leads to stress and anxiety and pressure, which leads to us dreading our competitions. So, I knew I had to pull her back to truth, right? And truth number one is this: we have zero control over anybody else, right? And I know you've heard that before, but man, is it hard to accept, right? We want control, right? But the truth is, we have zero control over anybody else. The only person we have control over is ourselves. And truth number two, we can't predict the future. We're not fortune tellers, right? I know we really want to know what's going to happen, but the truth is, we can't know. Can we hope for the best? Absolutely, and I hope that you do, but we can't, without a doubt, know what's going to happen before it happens. And so as we talked through those truths, what we realized is that instead of accepting the truth, she was having a temper tantrum. But I want to know, I want to know, right? I want to control and I want to predict, right? I mean, really, think about those moments. We have two choices. We can accept the truth that we can't control anybody else. We can accept the truth that we can't predict what's about to happen, or we can have a temper tantrum about it. So once she finally admitted, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I am having a temper tantrum, we came up with a plan. So now, when she finds herself wanting to control everything, when she finds herself wanting to predict, she pulls herself back to the truth. And here's the truth. I don't have control over anyone else. I only have control over me. And I can't predict the future. I'm not a fortune teller, but here's what I do know. Here is my truth. I've worked really, really hard, right? I don't have control over anyone else, and I don't know what's about to happen, but here's what I do know. I am prepared for this moment. I don't have control over anyone else, and I don't know what's about to happen, but here's what I do know. I will always find a way to fight, right? Those are her truths. And so I want to turn this around on you. What are your truths? What can you focus in on in those moments? But here's the deal. What we focus in on, it has to be true to us. Like, we truly have to believe it down deep, because this whole idea of fake it till you make it, believe me, you never make it. So it comes down to this. We can have a temper tantrum, or we can release. Okay, I have no control over anybody else. I can only control me. We can have a temper tantrum, or we can release. Okay, I don't know what's about to happen, but here's what I do know. And when we pull ourselves back to our truth, that is when we are the most powerful. When we pull ourselves back to our truth, this gives us our greatest chance to reach our fullest potential and our dreams. So here's my challenge. What's your truth? I'll see you next week.